Good morning. Welcome to Gruber Power Services Power Hour. My name is Claude Dixon.
And I'm Elvis Venter.
Elvis is in the building once again. Hey, we're going to start this podcast off with a short video. Let's see if we can get that video cranked up. I don't know how many of you remember the old E.F. Hutton commercial back in the mid-'70s. I was about 13 years old when this commercial came out, and we're trying to get it booted up.
Yeah, I'm going to play it now.
Yes. Go ahead and play it now.
Never regret the purchase of a good stock. You don't say, yeah, my broker says it's a real good buy. What does your broker say? Well, my broker's E.F. Hutton. And Hutton says, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
Now, Jesse, reboot that. Reboot that and play it one more time, just for effect.
Okay, I'm going to boost the audio a little on it.
Yeah, boost that audio up. And the viewers that are on, just listen to this brief conversation.
Let's see that in instant replay.
You'll never regret the purchase of a good stock. You don't say, yeah, my broker says it's a real good buy. What does your broker say? Well, my broker's E.F. Hutton. And Hutton says, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
Thank you, Jesse. Now, the point of this classic commercial is that's who we're not. So when we talk, we don't know everything about the craft that we're talking about. That's where you come in. That's where our viewers come in. We want you to participate. We want you to provide your own perspective on whatever the issue is we're discussing. And we'd like for you to ask questions, participate in the podcast. That's what it's all about.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say when I tell my kids when Elvis talks, you guys better listen. So for me, I think I know what I'm going to go with the other side. I'm like, when I talk, you guys can listen. I want to say Google's right when I'm regurgitating what they're saying. So we'll say.
So you're on the E.F. Hutton
We're
side
on
of
the
things. Okay.
Well, when Gruber Power Hour talks, hopefully everyone's listening, even if it ain't truth. Hopefully someone's listening, paying attention.
Yeah. So just a couple other comments to our viewers. First of all, you guys helped us grow again. I think when we were sitting in here last week, we were at 212 subscriptions. We're at 231 right now. So thank you for that. I'm sure some of you told your colleagues. Continue to do that. That will help us grow. And the other thing that we, myself and Elvis, have been remiss about the past couple podcasts is that we have failed to ask you what your location is. So when you chime in on whatever medium you're using, please indicate, obviously, your name and where you are. Sacramento, California. What's a good town in Romania?
Bucharest.
Bucharest, Romania. Wherever you are on the globe, chime in. We'd like to hear that too.
I know I got a buddy in Spain right now. He's traveling a bit for work, and I know he's out there. So if he's out there, chime in. Say hi.
Yeah, and last but not least, we are not experts. Okay? We're not experts. We're knowledgeable. We're in the business and all that. We can provide insight. So we just want to keep it real. If you look at that backdrop image, I know you're probably wondering what that is. We're going to get to that a little later in the podcast.
How many subscribers do we have?
231.
The fame's getting to your head and my head already.
Yeah,
Look at that. Yeah.
Well, I'm hot and you're cool though, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's driving.
100, how many subscribers?
No, 231.
231. I want my own parking spot. Just saying. I mean, what 200's the mark? I think I deserve something.
Yeah.
Someone will take it, but I still want one.
Yeah. I think we got a comment here on YouTube from a Grant Mobile in Sacramento, California. I don't think he heard the commercial. He probably saw it, but he wrote nothing, so he couldn't hear it. Well, Grant, I think I'm going to date you, okay? I think you're about 60 years old. So you remember sitting in front of the TV watching the E.F. Hutton commercial. So that's what that was. That's what we were talking about. So I think you get that one. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get into the podcast here. Last week, we talked about the power grid. So we're going to hit just a few things on the power grid, just kind of like the summer, just to, button it up, and then we're going to spend a lot of time on the UPS because that's what we were working towards anyway. Why you need a UPS. So Jesse, if you could put in image 1, image number 1, and I believe this is, right here. So these are the regional grids. We talked about that. Obviously, Alaska is missing off of this, but they have their own grid. There's 5 pieces to this thing. The east and the west, which is noted by the blue and the green, those grids are interconnected, okay? So you have 5 pieces all interconnected together, which is about 1.3 billion megawatts. Keep in mind, 1 megawatt is 1 million watts. All right, image 2. Image 2. This is critical because it allows power to be shifted back and forth between grids. So what you're looking at here are what is known as DC ties, and where they are located basically across the Continental Divide there. So there's 8 of them. I think there's probably 3 states represented there. But the key thing on this was the age of these DC ties. They're all old. You're talking 25, 30 years old. So from an infrastructure standpoint, we have an aging grid.
So this is where they come together?
This is where they're tied together in order to shift power between grids back and forth. Okay, through a converter if you're sending power, and then if you're receiving it through an inverter. Okay, those are the 7 connections. Image 3. Okay, remember this?
T-Mobile?
Yeah, T-Mobile with all those fancy colored balloons on it and all that. But you remember what this is, right, Elvis?
Yep.
This is all the places in America where power is generated, made.
And what type?
Yes, and what type. So there's 7 different types of power generation going on. If you look at the Pac Northwest, for those geography people, that's up there, the northwestern portion of the United States. You see all that blue? That's all hydroelectric power. And in that one region, that's 90% of their electricity, 90%. So you don't want to have a drought. You don't want to have a drought in the Pac Northwest.
Richard guessed it last time.
Yes.
I forgot to give him a little chocolate for his for the reward.
Yes.
But he guessed it right. I was still trying to figure out the color coding, and he was right on it.
Yeah.
Well, I should be looking forward to a snack on my desk when I get back then.
I got you. All day.
All right.
Yeah. And just one other thing to point out before we move on is the green in the middle. Obviously, that's the Great Plains states there. So you got wind out there. God forbid the wind stops blowing. That will cripple them out there. But that's what they're relying on mostly in the Great Plains states. All right. How about image number 4? So this is all review we're doing. Okay, these are what we call the transmission lines. The transmission lines carrying voltage to various locations throughout the country. Again, these are wires, okay? Big wires that you see. We showed you some images of what that looks like in the last podcast. But basically, these wires are aging too. In some cases, these wires are 30 years old. So you can imagine the amount of maintenance that must be going on, specifically after a storm. We actually had one out here yesterday, day before yesterday, where we had a blackout in northwest Phoenix, basically, a blackout for about 3 hours before they could get the energy back up and running, the electricity. Okay, and it mostly affected residential areas, but still, your lights are out and you've got flashlights going on, lanterns, fireplace, probably not a fireplace in 115-degree heat, but you know what I'm saying there. So that's critical. That's like, as Elvis pointed out last time, what did you call that? The circulatory system?
Yeah, it looks like that. It's also fascinating. Yeah, that's what I called it. And that's what it reminded me of. I know how everything operates from, like an X-ray. And it's just still fascinating, the congestion of where it's at. And then I'm also thinking about, look at the places where it's not as aggressive. It's more the west and then that middle section on the west side where there's not as much like...
Basically nothing in Nevada.
Nothing,
Right.
Yeah.
And you look at where it all began. It all began in New York at Niagara Falls.
Yep.
That 20-mile power line run they made to Buffalo from Niagara Falls. That's where it all began. So you can see how centralized it is in a number of wires. I mean, it's a
fascinating.
mess. I've been to that part of the country, and obviously I wasn't thinking about the power grid, but I do remember all of those lines running every which way and direction. It's actually kind of scary. Now, one other thing I want to note on this before we move on is, remember, these transmission lines are only rated for 95-mile-an-hour winds. So that's one of the reasons why we're having issues, is because the infrastructure is old. We have hurricane force winds now of 150 miles an hour, and they just wipe out everything.
I never knew about a haboob till I moved here.
Yeah.
It was a weird one.
They
I've never
quick.
called it. Yeah, those are very strong because it's an entire wall of dust coming. And then another one was the microbursts.
Yes.
That's where I was. I learned about power outages and blackouts here and brownouts was from the microbursts.
Yeah.
Where there's about 65 to 80 mile an hour winds within a few seconds or minutes. I lost a 30-foot tree, a Palo Verde, and I was just watching it go down because the microburst came out of nowhere. It's basically, I think it's vertical rain coming at and with high winds.
Yeah.
So you need really good infrastructure.
Yeah. And, the other thing just to add to that is, here in the Valley of the Sun and down in Tucson, you actually can see these storms develop on the horizon.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they either come to fruition or they don't. So one thing we do with our customers prior to monsoon season is we send out an email blast saying, hey, when's the last time you checked your batteries? You better check this, better check that, in preparation for the season. Because when the monsoons hit here, not only do they pack a lot of water, they pack a lot of dust, pack a lot of wind, will annihilate infrastructure.
So you better minimize the exposure.
Exactly. Okay, so enough on that. Let's move on to image number 5, the big picture. Now we're going to sum all this up for you.
Side note, this is the one that they were saying I did.
Yeah,
this is my piece of art.
Look at this. You can clearly tell that this is not AI generated. A human generated this thing here, and the human being is sitting right next to me right here. So you know what? I could never draw anything like that. My stuff would all be sticks.
Yeah.
It would the houses would be sticks. The generation plant would be sticks. You guys wouldn't be able to figure it out. But this guy did a good job with this. So this is the big picture. So you start with the power station. You start with the raw material, which in this case, it's coal. Okay, the electricity is generated. It's sent through a transformer, stepped down to go through the power lines, comes to another substation. Once again, it's stepped down to go to the distribution lines. The thing to note here is the difference between what? The power lines, transmission lines, and the distribution lines. Look at the width difference and look at the size of the poles. Okay,
huge difference.
There's a huge difference. So that stuff's got to be meaning voltage, has got to be stepped down prior to going into your home. If not, you and your home will be on Mars somewhere, just completely blasted off of Earth.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what kind of generation this is that I made? Because you said it's not AI generated, it's EV generated because those are my initials.
That's right, EV generated. So
that's what we're doing.
You're coming up with jokes now.
All the dad jokes.
Yeah. Okay, so before we move on to the state of the power grid, which I think is very important for us to talk about, let's look at some of these comments up here. Let's see. We've got Grant. We already talked about that one. The Banana Man. The Banana Man is coming in from Alpha Centauri. Okay. All righty.
That's a great one.
It's a long way off.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Okay, Grant Mobell from Sacramento, California. I heard it. He's talking about the clip that we played, the commercial. E.F. Hutton says nothing. You're right, buddy. You're right. You're right. Good point, Grant. Okay, we got another one from YouTube. Scrooge McDuck. 231 Power Hour Maniacs. What's that? What's that mean?
Subscribers, that's how many we
Oh,
got.
yeah. See, that one went right over my head. See, it gets me too.
It's okay.
Yeah, it went right over my head.
That's what we can call them, Power Hour Maniacs. That's great. That's what you guys are now, is the Power Hour Maniacs.
Yeah, our viewers.
Our viewers, our subscribers.
Yeah. Okay, so we got another YouTube comment. Suns fan for life. EI. You talked about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Elvis, what is that? Elvis Intelligence, right?
Yeah.
No, Elvis.
Yeah.
Sure, that sounds great to me. I'll take it.
Elvis Intellect.
There you go.
Elvis.
Patent pending trademark.
Okay. Another one from YouTube, an EV fan. Gruber Power Coloring Hour. Okay, you must be referencing that. You're drawing again.
My art.
Yeah. And then one more before we move on here. We have one from an IT manager. from YouTube. You guys provide incredible value to our community. These kinds of podcasts are way overdue in our industry. Well, thank you, sir, Melm, whoever you might be. We appreciate that feedback. All right, you ready to get into the state
I'm ready to.
of the power grid?
Let's dive in.
To our viewers, what state do you think the power grid is in? I'm not talking about a state in America. I'm talking about like your state of mind, that kind of thing, psychological state. What kind of state do you think our power grid in America is in? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if they want to spend $2.5 trillion in investment, that should tell you something, that it's not in good shape. That is what the dollar figure is that all the investors are talking about right now. It's going to cost about $2.5 trillion to go in and get this thing up to snuff to present times.
Wow. Give me a few weeks. I can come up with that.
Yeah, that's a tremendous amount of money.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. The money isn't the issue. You know what the issue is in getting this done? Is that there's 500 different companies involved. It's just not the federal government. It's people like you and I that run a power company,
Yep.
Somewhere generating it, and we can't come to an
A
agreement.
lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Exactly. But I hear Romanian cooks, you guys are able to get it done,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
You guys come out with the product.
Once you taste my motherland food, it's over. Everyone turns Romanian. You start getting a thick accent,
Yeah.
and the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a scenario where you've worked for a company or you've been on some sort of team and no one's in charge? No one's in charge.
Am I allowed
Have
to
you-
answer that without
Yeah.
getting in trouble?
Don't
You
go
know.
there.
You know
Yeah.
my resume. You know what other teams I played for.
Yeah, yeah. Let's not down the other teams, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Well, that's the exact same scenario we have going on here. No one's in charge of this thing. They got $2.5 trillion, but everyone wants to spend it, however many ways. And Grant Mobell makes a good point.
Great.
What point is that right there? What does that say?
First, he says, let's just back up very quickly. He says horrible.
Right.
And then his comment to jump over is politics.
Exactly. It's all about
That's
politics.
what it is.
It's all about the money. Politics is what's allowing our power grid that services the American citizen here,
Yeah.
our people, we the people, to die right before our eyes.
I'd like to chime in on what Banana Man just said.
Okay.
It's probably one of the most profound things I've heard, at least today.
Even compared to you?
Nah,
Okay.
no one can beat me, but he's a close second.
Okay.
If the power grid were a person, I'd say the equivalent would be an ICU condition.
that is awesome.
So true. Yeah. Bleeding,
He's right.
dying out there. It's so true.
He is right. That is awesome.
So true.
Great point. Okay, so another thing in looking at the state of the power grid, do you realize that power outages, we just talked about one that happened the day before yesterday in Northwest Phoenix, have more than doubled over the last 6 years? Now, I'm not a climatologist, so I'm not even going to go down that road, but I will say that the people that are saying, well, it's climate change. But, you have the people on the other side, too, that debate that. But we'll just leave that there. Another thing, the current network, as I mentioned, is decaying with age and underinvestment. 70% of the transmission lines are more than 25 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. Look at you. How fast did you run when you were 16 years old compared to how fast you run now?
Well, at 16, I was running away from my mom with the spoon.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit more motivation to where right now, I don't think I could keep up with a 16-year-old Elvis,
You
but
can't. Yeah, you would crash and burn, and that's exactly
I
what's
trip
going
him
on.
before we start. But yeah,
That's exactly
Elvis, I
what's
could
going
come
on.
I could come after you with the spoon. We can get some real, eliminate the variables.
yeah. Let's play that out. I mean, hey, I already bow out to you. You got me beat.
Hey, you know what's really scary too is, the power grid, the power transmission lines, they have different components. So one of the components I mentioned was a transformer. Well, you know what? 90% of the transformers, the devices that are stepping the power down are more than 40 years old. Wow.
They're almost as
It's
old as
like-
Optimus Prime.
Yeah, it's like who fell asleep at the switch with maintenance
Wow.
and upgrades
40
and things.
years old?
40 years old.
Wow, almost as old as you.
Yeah, well, almost. That's actually a compliment.
That's what I was trying to get at. That's why because Kim Estrie said it's a setup, hook, line, and sinker. The other comment was, and that one was too, I set him up and I gave it to him. Yep. Yeah, 40 years is not a It's not promising.
No. And then couple that with the surge in EVs.
Yeah.
The surge in EVs, that's just slowly, as they ramp up, they're going to spike power demand. Now, what was the story you were talking about two guys getting in a fight over a charging station?
No,
That sounds like something my best friend would do. But anyway.
Grant?
Yes.
Well, now he has the car for it.
Was it
so he's ready
Grant?
to
Was
go.
it Grant? Because he's got the car for it.
Yeah.
Was it him? Because that's definitely something that my
I
best
thought
friend
it
would
might
do.
be, so I was like, I can't
So
snitch
what
on him.
happened there?
So it's on the Gruber Motors.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Instagram.
Instagram, TikTok.
Yes,
both.
okay. And I actually was fascinated by it, and it was pretty wild. There was a Tesla owner, and his car died like few feet away from the parking spot to charge his vehicle. And he we're actually going to show the video. If you guys have it, I'd love to show the video because I think it does a better job than me trying to explain it. And let's just pull it up so everyone can see it. And it's the first time you're going to see this too, Claude.
Yeah, it
and
better
it's
not be anybody in
fascinating.
Sacramento.
No, it's not Grant.
Okay.
There's some backstory to it though. So he was trying to get his car into a space while it was dead.
Look
And
at that.
people kept on taking the spaces that he was trying to get his car into being dead. So he found a solution for it.
That was the last spot solution. And look, his car's right there. He couldn't do anything with it. And he had to wait for some people to come in and push it inside that spot. Few feet away, how helpless.
Wow.
How much we depend. We depend on power. We depend on EV. We
Yeah.
depend on UPS.
Yeah.
If not, and look how close he was. To me, I was like, so close yet so far.
Yeah. Do you guys know what time of day that was and where it was?
I was at the Biltmore Supercharger, and I'm not sure what time of day. It looks
In
like the morning.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was-
I did not know it
And
was over
that
here.
guy's laying on the ground and the ground's 110 degrees.
Getting a tan.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. I did not know that was here in Arizona. That is, yeah, I mean, that's what shows how dependent we are and what a big deal power.
And think of this, you're stressing the power grid, so you're unable to charge these cars when it breaks. Now you got people stranded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's amazing what's going on. Another thing, let's switch to renewables real quick. Reliability problems with sun and wind. Like I had mentioned earlier, the Great Plains states, the wind stops blowing. What happens then? Or it dies down, what happens then? And of course, in the Pac Northwest, they're not going to invest in solar up there.
No.
It's simply not going to do it. So there's issues with that too. The other thing too is solar and wind cannot be stored for ready use in power emergencies. When you have it, you use it. So, it can't be stored in the event that you need it for an emergency. Got to be used right away.
And the sun is very powerful.
Yeah.
The heat and what it does. I mean, moving here is the first time I had ever had to think about the car battery.
Yeah.
How fast it depletes compared to being in the the Midwest. Yeah, 2-3 years, 3.5 years over here. Within a year and a half, 2 years, it's time to, because the power of the sun and the heat and what it does is tremendous, and it hits your equipment really
Hey,
hard.
by the way, what shoe size do you wear?
9.5.
9.5. Imagine if you had to walk around with a 12.5. No, hey, you got to walk around with a 12.5. What would that feel like? That's my next point. The solar and wind footprint.
I'll just wear a bunch of socks
Exactly.
to make up for the 12.
solar and wind footprint, though,
Yeah.
is humongous.
That's so true.
Humongous.
Wow.
You got to
That's
put
a
these
great-
things all over hill and dell and valley
Yep.
to generate this electricity.
Mhm.
Now we could go into it again as far as how that affects the landscape, how that affects the animals, their habitat, but we're not going to get into that. And then one final point on this, on average,
Fascinating.
right now, customers, a single customer, experiences at least 7 hours of downtime a year in terms of no power. 7 hours. Doesn't sound like a lot. Well, let's do it in 120-degree heat. Let's do it now. Okay, 7 hours. First thing you're going to do is you're going to run to Home Depot, and you're going to find out, guess what? There's no manual fans. What are you going to do then? You're going to turn on your bathtub, cold water. You're going to take off all your clothes, and you're going to sit there for 3 hours. Okay? You're not going to sit in your house. You're just simply not going to do that.
Jump in the
Sweat
pool,
that.
jump in irrigation. You'll
Yeah.
find water source.
Yeah, so it's real. So you take that 7 hours and you multiply that times a whole bunch of people. That's pretty significant. And right now they're projecting it to get worse and worse and worse unless we invest and rebuild. Okay. Any other comments on that? You want to do some did you knows? You have any did you knows over there, Elvis?
Oh, yes, I do. Before that, we'll make a YouTube EV fan. Nuclear fusion is the future. But yes, we need better infrastructure entirely also.
Yes. Great point. Great point.
So did you know?
Yeah, some did you knows. Tell them about why we're doing that, the segment called Did You Knows. Do you knows, I guess.
Actually, you tell them. Why not?
Okay. So,
You
know,
came
we're-
up with it. I'm not going to take it
Yeah,
for
we're just going to
steal your
go
thunder.
in. Yeah, we're just going to go in and just kind of like just break the ice just out of the blue and say, and give you some did you knows, you know, because we're in this every day and we're looking at this. So we just throw, and then we get back into the subject matter after that. So here is the first did you know. Did you know there's 203 countries in the world? Did you know that? 203 countries? But guess what? Only 10 of them, 10 of these countries, they produce 74% of the electricity in the world. Just 10. Just 10.
And the rest take the 26 if my math is accurate.
Yeah, the 26, the rest, and who knows? There's some
Intended,
energy,
come on.
and they will use this thing. Okay, so who do you think is number one? Who do you think the number one energy producing? Give me something up there from the viewers. Who do you think's number one? 1, 2, and 3. We'll do that. 1, 2,
Yep.
and 3.
And I'll start naming off a few of the other ones to maybe narrow it down.
Oh, out of the top 10?
Yeah,
Okay,
because we
so-
have a top 10.
So start with number 10 then.
So I won't go, okay, we're going to go backwards. And France is number 10.
France,
Yep, the French.
Europe.
So just so you know, the top 10 is what that they produce. These are the top 10 countries that you were talking about that produce and come up with the 74%
That's correct.
electricity. Okay.
That's correct. Out of 203.
countries, 10 take front and center. Germany, which
Germany.
the Germans, my grandfather was half German, so they're pretty weak.
Yeah, you got Germany, another
Okay.
European country.
South Korea.
South Korea,
Oh, the Canadians.
Canada. Canada is helping us out in the Northeast. That's the other part of that grid.
Yeah,
the
they
Eastern
are.
Interconnection. They're providing us energy. Okay, in the northeast portion of the United States. That energy, part of it is coming from Canada.
I thought when you said these top 10, I thought we were doing the Women's World Cup. And I was
Oh
like,
my
what was it? What is this? Soccer? Soccer
Dude,
hour?
That is insane.
Yeah,
That's
I was like, no, I
insane.
don't want to talk about soccer right now, even though I love it. I said, but you just hit up a bunch of the countries that are in it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is World Cup hour. The next one is, I'm gonna say it the way they say Brazil.
Brazil? Brazil.
Brazil. The Americans say Brazil. It's Brazil.
Okay, South America right there.
Oh yeah. Japan.
Japan, okay, Asia.
And actually, I've been reading up and I've been listening. A lot of people are moving to Japan because of the way the country is run there. I actually read that a lot of people, a lot of U.S. citizens are moving to
It's
Japan.
because they want to live longer.
Yep.
That's why.
And the
wanna
way
live
they
longer.
do things, I heard even through other. Yeah. Next one is
Well, hold on.
Oh,
Let's go back up to YouTube. Another question has come in from Grant Mobile. Did the infrastructure bill that Biden signed recently involve the grid system? That is a phenomenal question, and the answer is yes, it did. I can't remember the name of the act, but it was that big giant one that they put all that pork spending in. But part of that bill was this to address the environment, but it was nowhere near $2.5 trillion. It was more in the billions. Go ahead.
Yep. And then the next one, and after Japan, the next one is none other than the big ones, the Soviets, Russia.
Russia, number 4.
Number 4. So, EV fan, you gave us number 1 is USA, number 2 is Russia, number 3 is China. You got 2 out of 3, so that's pretty fancy.
Then the one up top there. From
Then
Banana Man?
Banana Man is he's on the right radar, he's on the right wavelength, but the rankings are a little bit flipped. But he did get him, he got all 3, but in the wrong order. So first, let's go with actually number 3, fine. India.
India's number 3.
India's number 3.
Quiet country. You don't hear much from India.
Nope.
But if they wanted to exert their power, they could.
Oh, they could. Yeah, they're the dark horse. They're the sleepers.
Yes.
Then number 2, which God bless the USA, is
Yeah.
us, U.S. Banana Man, you were close, but not close enough. And then the number one is the big power, the big dogs.
Yeah.
The biggest one of them all, China.
China's dominating.
And give us what percentage of that they run.
Now,
Claude.
of the world's electricity production, we're talking the world. China produces 32% of it.
They got us.
Keep in mind, there's 203 countries. Okay. And then the top 10, but China is a third of that top 10. Now, if that doesn't scare you or give you some, what do you call those things? EBGBs?
Yeah,
Is that what they call them?
The heebity-jeebities.
Or goosebumps or some sort of emotion that's outside of just talking, I don't know what will. China.
Jesse, what does that give you?
Well, we do got to remember too. They have like a fifth of the world's population, and they're one of the largest nations that there is. So they have a big leg up on everybody too.
Yeah,
They do.
And they have the rare earths. You cannot forget that. We're going to go into that.
That is
we're going to
so
get into that.
fascinating, and we're going to touch on that in such a profound way.
Yeah.
And it's also to understand, correct, Jesse, they do have the population and they have a lot going on, but it does go back to that old saying is how much China has control.
Yeah.
Or not even their neighbors, but across the big pond, how much influence they have to where if we flip the script, how much would USA or another country have it in a foreign country? So China, as much as we say, it's the truth to the situation, to the reality of how much they have.
Now, let's go back real quick and address the Banana Man and the EV fan, because both of those folks put USA. Indirectly, they're correct. You know why they're correct? Because we have more fossil fuel than anybody.
Yes.
Okay, we do. We have more fossil fuel than anybody. We're just not digging for it. Okay, remember the whole thing about energy independence, that type of thing? Okay, so you guys indirectly are correct. The USA is number one, but we're not going for that right now. All right, so switching gears to renewables. Renewables are solar and wind. Just a couple did you knows there, okay? It requires the same metals that we're saying we want to get away from. Solar and wind require those metals. And I'm talking about copper. Okay, you still got to dig for copper. You still got to make the turbines. You still got to make the panels, the production aspect of it. But there's one thing that Elvis hit on that we want to spend some time on before we get to UPSs, which is what really the subject matter is going to be today, is mineral concentration. If you look at mineral concentration, and we're talking specifically for renewables, we're talking solar and wind. When I say renewables, I'm talking solar and wind. Where is the mineral concentration to make that thing happen? Guess what? It's not in the United States. For copper, Chile in South America. Did I pronounce that right, Chile? Or you pronounce it another way?
I'll let it pass this time.
Chile in South America has the greatest concentration of copper.
Jesse, how'd you say it?
Chile.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Chile?
See that
Chile.
flair?
I like the
He
flair.
already added spice and flavor to it. Chile.
Yeah, I like the flair. Nickel, Indonesia. And this one, image number 6, put this one up, Jesse. Now, they don't probably teach this anymore in school, but when I was coming up, they taught this thing. How many people know what this is? Our viewers, this is called the periodic table of the elements. The periodic table of the elements. We had to learn this thing, memorize this thing. Remember gases, solid, liquid. Remember all that? These acronyms for what that particular chemical might be. Okay, but look at the dark blue line. The dark blue line there at the bottom is called rare earths. Now, I can't pronounce any of those names, not a single one. I'm being completely serious. If you zoom in on that thing and look at those names, I can't pronounce a single one of those. I'm talking about the dark blue right there, with the exception of PM. That's not considered a rare earth, but the other 15 are. China has all of those. Only China.
Shocker.
China. Now, here's what they go into. Here's what they use these rare earths for. Your smartphone. If you have a smartphone right now, if you're watching this on your smartphone, I want you to take your smartphone out and look at that screen, because that's That's what they're using to create the images that are on that screen. A smartphone, digital cameras, flat screen TVs. I probably shouldn't say that one because if China decides to cut us off, I know I'm going to see a whole bunch of you flocking to Walmart trying to buy up all the flat screen TVs because that's exactly what's going to happen because they're going to go up in price. Okay?
I'm going to blame you for not getting access to my 4Ks.
Computer monitors is another one.
Yep.
Displays,
Man.
and on and on and on. So,
Well, Claude,
Yeah.
isn't that what they steal the things off the cars for? Is all the rare earth minerals in there?
Yeah,
What are those things called?
now I'm not for sure about that, but I mean, that's alarming. First of all, I had never heard of rare earths. Okay. So I Googled it. They're called REE. So I Googled it and read this and it's like, man, that's like, how much control do they have? Really?
The value, because it's rare.
Yeah.
The value is just, they have the upper hand.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought we'd throw that image up. And then lithium is Australia. Cobalt is in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Now, if you all know anything about Africa, you know Africa is loaded with minerals. You know that already.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when I talk about cobalt, if you Google that, you go to cobalt extraction in the Congo, you're not going to like what you see. You're just simply not going to like it in terms of how they're mining the cobalt. But that's a whole nother subject. Now, here's the other scary thing about China when it comes to capability. Here's the other scary thing. All of those minerals I just mentioned, China dominates in processing them all. China dominates.
It's wild.
Do you know what domination is? That's like going 11-0 on a football team and winning a championship. Okay,
Yeah.
You dominated everybody. They use the word dominates. That, like I said, that should give us some EBGBs to correct and start to turn things around. But anyway, let's go back up here. We've got the banana man again. India needs to be independent. China on one side, Pakistan on the other. Can't rely on its neighbors. Good point there.
Very
Good point.
true.
Suns fan for life. It's all about the priorities of nations' bureaucracy, unfortunately. Good point. YouTube, Grant Mobile, Russia.
Is that where he's from?
Russia.
Because
Is
you
that,
said
is that what he's getting at? Russia.
Or is that where Grant's at right now? Because you said to identify where you're at. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You must be there. Grant Mobile again, aluminum. Starseed. I used to have them all memorized.
The periodic table
of the elements.
She gets an A+ because I couldn't do barely any.
Yeah. Okay. So we just want to hit you with that. That was kind of like some did you know. So now we're going to get into the bulk of what we're here. Elvis, a couple of podcasts ago, came up with this question. He was trying to zing me with this thing. He goes, why in the heck do I need a UPS? What do I need that for? Why do I need to invest in a UPS? So we've walked you guys through a whole bunch of stuff now, all the way to the point now to where we're going to discuss what a UPS is. You ready to go, Elvis?
I'm ready to go.
But first, we got to address the backdrop image.
And while we find, in the cave?
Yes.
Okay. That looks like a few movies I've seen, a few horror movies, how they started in the cave, pitch black.
By the way, that is an actual picture that I took while I was inside of this cave. This cave is located in Flagstaff,
That was
Arizona.
you?
Yeah. This is called the Lava River Cave. It's about 1.5 miles long. And the reason why I wanted to use this as the backdrop is those folks that you see coming towards me, they weren't there 15 minutes ago. Okay. And I was in complete darkness in that cave because my cell phone ran out of battery and my little flashlight, which was lighting it up a little bit, went completely out. So I sat there in darkness for about 10 minutes until I started seeing these people.
You weren't prepared.
No, I was
Go
not prepared.
figure.
And that is the point right there. I went in there unprepared. Okay. So getting back to the whole UPS question that we're going to go over now, this is the first step in preparing yourself in case things go dark. Go ahead, Elvis. Take us. Let's go through this.
So let's go to the UPS and the needs. Let's go to image B, Jesse.
Image B.
And to a side note, sidebar. For the rare earths, what Claude's trying to get at is those minerals, and what they do is they have the material. Like when you're trying to build a house, they have the material to build the house, the batteries, the UPS. That's what Claude's referring to, is these minerals. and who has them is it has the recipe to build the cake, the batteries, the house.
Right.
So it's like they have a lot of control, because when I want to build something, I have to go to the supplier, have to go to someone so I can acquire that equipment, the 2x4s. It's that same concept, how important that is. Go ahead, Jesse.
So I don't have one labeled B. I have 2001 Smart UPS, 99 Smart UPS, and 777 LX. Are the three. That
Yeah. You don't. Yeah, you're right, Jesse. Image B is the backdrop. So we addressed that already. So we want to go to. Let's go down. You want to go to image 99. Who remembers Get Smart? The television series Get Smart. I'm dating myself again. Anyway, remember Agent 99?
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why I named that slide that. Okay, here we go.
Oh,
Here we
you're
go.
Agent 99?
Yeah. Who is?
Okay.
Wait, what? Who is? Okay. Go ahead, Elvis.
Look at the muscles. You're flexing right now. So what we're going to start talking about is certain types of UPS, and we're going to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go with the KISS acronym and just keep it simple, Sally. And it's 3 types, and we're going to stay with APC.
Yes.
We're going to stay with Schneider. We're going to stay with that brand, with that manufacturer. And we're going to talk about 3 types, which I get so excited. It's like I'm finally getting to teach a little bit. My teachers will be proud of me that I'm actually teaching for once. I would barely listen. So now it's time to be more like them. So we're talking about the smart ups. There's 3 types of UPSs. And for the APC line, these are the 3 we're talking about. The smaller one, the more convenient one, and
Plug and play.
Plug and play.
Yeah, you see the cord hanging down? I'm talking about the one on the left and, well, the one on the right too, because the picture on the right is the backside of this.
Correct.
What is that? That's a 1.5 kVA, 1500 VA
Yes.
UPS. It's the kind of UPS that you're going to put underneath your workstation or underneath your computer at home. Okay, so you see the front side, the back side. This is a single phase UPS, meaning that it has one input and one output.
Yes.
All right. And if you look really closely on the picture to the right, you can see, what do they call those, receptacles?
The receptacles, the outlets.
Yes, that you can plug devices into. Now you need to be careful with that. If you go back and
Please.
look, if you go back and look at another podcast, we talked about what? We talked about proper UPS sizing.
Correct.
So you do that whole piece first before you pick which UPS you need to make sure that it's properly sized. Okay. Now there's batteries that go inside of this thing. There's 2. What size are those batteries again?
These are the 12 volt, usually 7 amp hour or 6 amp hour. Oh, look at that. Show and tell.
I went ahead and brought one of these.
Welcome to the class, folks.
Okay. I went ahead and brought one of these so you can see how big this thing is compared to my head. All right. You can get a gist of how big this thing is. So it requires 2 of them.
Yep.
And what kind of runtime versus the load? Explain what the load is first. What the heck does load mean?
That's
critical load.
That's your power.
Yeah. Critical load is, and where do you get that from? You get that from the back of each device, the VA.
Correct.
Yeah. To determine how much capacity you need out of your UPS.
How much juice, and the batteries gives you how much time.
Right.
So if your house goes down and your computer shuts off, because your laptop has the mobile, and it's good for a few hours. But if your PC goes down or something in the house electrical goes down, this will give you a certain amount of minutes. It'll give you 2 to 3 minutes. It'll give you a certain amount of time. So for a full load, if we're only using 1.5, so when Jesse zoomed in and showed those outlets and said you could plug in a computer, true. But if you plug in your little computer and then you plug in like a toaster, now you're losing because you're using more and more and more of that power.
Right.
So you're losing the time. So if you want to dedicate it so you know how much power you're using is so important.
Yeah. Yeah, that will zap your battery quick if you plug
Your
in.
runtime will change.
Yeah, you plug in too many devices. Well, one, you could overload the UPS. You don't want to do that.
Exactly.
So you want to keep this UPS running somewhere around 75% of what its capability is.
Exactly.
As far as maximum you put on that from a critical load standpoint. And again, this is a small boy. This is like one of the smallest
this
things
is little.
you'd ever want to deal with.
Yep.
Okay, but it's perfect for your setup at home underneath your desk. If you notice in the backdrop, you can see we have a lot of these wrapped up ready to go. They go right out the door. They fly really fast. This product is available right here at Gruber Power
I sell
Services.
a lot of these. I have a customer that buys them, every few here for a server rack here or there.
Yeah.
And for if you're going to use about, let's say 1.5 kVA, you're going to get about 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes of time to back up or to keep safe.
Only 5 to 7 minutes.
For that little guy, yep.
Yeah. Why is that? Why is that appropriate for a UPS that size? Because somebody might be thinking it's like, well, dang, I need 7 hours.
Yeah, it depends how much time you're looking for, and
Right.
it depends. So if you want 7 hours, this is not the UPS for us.
Right.
It's not for that person.
Or you get yourself a little portable generator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this just bridges the gap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're gonna, let's say you only use half of 1.5 kVA, now you're getting 24 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can watch a Netflix episode.
Yeah.
Like now you're getting a certain amount of minutes. So just for this little guy, and that's what it gives you. And it's 12 volt, 7 amp hour. This is what that exact unit gets, which is still the same specs almost in a physical from the battery you showed. And it gives you anywhere from 7 to more. Now, if you're using less and less and less than 1.5, then you get a few extra minutes out of it.
Right. And the key piece with this, just going back on the amount of time, because that may sound like not a lot. Well, you know what? All you're trying to do in this case with this UPS is not lose your data.
Exactly.
You might be working on something, okay, and you forget, you might have autosave on, but you might be old school like me and not even know there's an autosave.
True.
Okay, and you're just working, and then all of a sudden the lights go out. Your computer shuts down and you lost everything. So what this thing does is it kicks on, all right? It transfers, turns on, well, it's already on, but the battery power backs up your AC, comes on, all right, and supports your critical load while the lights come back on. That way you don't lose anything. You can continue working or save your data, get off, go get up, figure out what's going on.
Correct.
Okay. So there you go with that. So we're going to switch to another image, image Space Odyssey 2001. I named this image 2001 because of the Space Odyssey movie. I know all you guys remember that out there.
Was a
Space
good
Odyssey.
movie.
Yeah, it was. It's a really good movie. So look at the model. Now, I'm not talking about the UPS in this case. I'm talking about the humanoid that's standing next to
Okay,
the
the
UPS.
supermodel.
Yeah,
You
there
forgot
you
to
go.
say supermodel.
That guy.
Okay.
And look at how he's holding that box up, the picture on the right.
Yeah.
You know how much that thing weighs? That thing weighs 150 pounds with batteries, and he's handling this thing like it's nothing. But you can see it's actually slipped into the shelf. He's trying to play with you guys' mind. It's actually slipped into the shelf, resting on the shelf.
Yeah, I can't handle that.
Yeah. Now, before Elvis gets started on this one, I want to show you the difference in the battery.
Uh-oh.
Okay, that tower takes a different size battery.
Yep.
It takes a 12 volt, 18 amp hour battery.
Yep.
The little one is a 12 volt, 7 amp hour battery. And these are Gruber Power Services batteries. This is our brand. Now, for those of you who like to get creative out there, do not do this. Do not do this. No. This thing cannot work in your vehicle.
No.
Okay? Don't do it. Don't do it. Now, people have tried, but we're telling you, as we sell this product, don't do it. It's not designed for your car. It's designed for an uninterruptible power source, specifically the tower UPS.
Yep, and it's a 2. Yep, and that per that image, that's a 2.2 kVA 2200 VA.
What's
and this
two-
takes
what's
two of those.
2.2. What is,
2000.
yeah, 2200 amps?
Yep.
Yeah, no,
No,
2200 watts.
2200 watts.
There we go, 200. Yeah.
Hey
Correct.
guys. Hey
Yes.
guys. Are these batteries designed like a deep cycle battery that you would see for like a long period of time you're
No.
pulling it?
No.
Or are they designed more like a cranking battery for like engines?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I know the answer to your first question. No, these are not designed for deep discharge. Okay, deep cycle, I should say. You do that twice, you're buying new batteries.
Yes. So it only can provide so much.
These batteries are basically designed to carry you over. Okay, you really don't want to deep charge them at all. You just want them to come on, to be available until you get your problem corrected.
Exactly.
And then the alternating current comes back on. Okay, flows through the UPS. You're back on utility power basically,
And you're safe.
and then you're recharging the batteries. We call it a flow charge. We top charging the batteries back up. You know, you don't want to just use them because you won't get the life that you're thinking about. These things are very expensive, especially as you gravitate up towards larger and larger UPSs. You're talking thousands and thousands of dollars at that point.
Yep. So at YouTube, Grant Mobile says Cadillac converters. And then he said yes. And then he asks, chess set and checkers on the table. Who's playing? Oh, he caught it first. He's the first one to call that out.
Yeah, no one's even... Hey, that's a really good observation. Why in the heck do we have a chess set and a checker set on the same table? Well, I can tell you why. Now, you can play checkers with your power needs. And what that means is you can just take risks and think in that capacity, or you can be a calculated chess player and pre-plan. Make sure things are right. Make sure make sure things are being checked before monsoon season. Make sure you have a preventative maintenance program in place. We do provide that, by the way. We have many service contracts that we service all over the nation. We have resources everywhere in America. And that's the difference. The people who play chess with their power are the ones that are prepared. Not like me in the cave. Battery runs out. I'm in total darkness until someone comes and saves me. Imagine this in an industrialized facility. You know, you have employees working everywhere. You're downstairs in the basement doing maintenance work, and it goes completely black. What's the first impulse that you see? The first thing that comes to not everyone's mind, but the majority of the people. Total darkness all of a sudden. What's the first thing that happens?
Panic.
Panic, exactly. So you don't want to be panicking, you know, in the darkness. Like if I would have panicked in that situation, look at that terrain. I would have probably broke my ankle, twisted, fell, hit my head, that kind of thing. But instead I just sat down and waited until someone showed up. My point is with chess, that's that person. That person is prepared, planning, has a maintenance plan in place, and is ready for unforeseen circumstances.
Yep. And also, Grant, he also did that because you know Claude well enough. He also did that so I can mention that he's really good at chess and he beats me usually majority of the time. Actually, almost every time. I only won once so far. But he's also doing that to bait me, to remind me that he's a really good chess player and he knows what he's doing.
But you know, the grandmasters that are watching this podcast right now, a good chess player to them is average.
Yep.
So you know what? I call myself I'm average.
Below average.
Yeah, exactly, below average. You know, I just like to play. I like the way the pieces look, and you know, it's fun, and it makes me think and exercises my brain.
Yep. Scrooge McDuck says missed it by that much.
Missed what? Another one that went over my head?
Yep.
Okay.
That one I couldn't catch either.
Okay.
Maybe per the periodic table. But also, how long does the UPS work for a CPAP machine? That one I would have to look into the information on the CPAP and tell you how long, in what sense, like 5, 10 years. A UPS in general can last you many years. How long runtime? How long is a little bit too general to how long does a UPS work in runtime?
Here's another thing I can add. If I can ask the viewer a question and get back to us, go get that CPAP machine, turn it around, and look at the label, the plate on it, and tell me what the VA is. And then we can come back and probably answer that question for you.
That's how we could. We need more information on
I'd be able to tell you exactly what that and what kind of plug it's got. Just say, if it's a normal plug, just say it's a normal plug. We know what that means. And then we can tell you what kind of machine you might need to support it, okay?
Now,
I don't know anything about Banana Man. How long would that keep a gaming PC alive? Well, unfortunately,
still
I don't
a PC.
Yeah. What, you play video games, you know?
No, I don't anymore. I gave that life up.
Yeah. Well, the same thing there. If you could get back with us, look at that gaming machine, turn it around, look at the label, tell us what the VA is. We can help you with that.
Yeah. But for a gaming PC, it's still a PC, so it still falls under that. You could use we have 6 kVA smart ups, which would work for those. So there's 8. We have a 9, so that can give you, maybe average a little bit more, because even this the 2200 gives you about 25 to 30 minutes. So a larger kVA will give you more because now you're putting larger batteries inside. So you could get an hour or two, but it's not going to put an all-nighter. You can't go be playing COD in games for hours just off of your UPS. Ain't going to happen.
Right. Hey, we got another question here, and this feeds right into the next image. So let's go to image 777. How many of y'all have been to Vegas?
That's the holy number right there.
That's where I got that one from. 777s. You got to love that one. Okay,
that's everywhere there.
So the question is, this question is from Chris Spangler from Gilbert, Arizona. Gilbert, Arizona, yeah. If that is the size of a 2.2 kVA, what is the size of a 15 kVA? Voila!
But wait, there's more. That's what we're going to do. Exactly. So you just exactly that gave us that. So if you're looking at it, it is, I think I skipped it myself.
Well,
so
it's
that is the 16 kVA.
Yeah.
And what you want to do, if you want the 16 kVA, you see the bottom of that UPS, those 9 bays. If you exclude that, that's an entire 16 kVA. So it's about 32 inches. It takes about 13 U to 16 U of rack space.
Yeah.
So you're looking about 30 to 40 inches high, about 2.5 feet wide, and then about 3 feet deep. That's the UPS for 15 or 16 kVA
Right.
UPS.
So you're saying those battery module slots, you remove those battery module slots because they're included in this particular model. And
Yes.
to answer Chris's question, hey, what you're looking at right there is a 16 kVA
Yep.
PXR APC Symetra LX. We sell those like hotcakes. That is our fastest moving large single phase box.
And
What
hold
you're
up
looking
that
at right there.
battery that you did the first one, that same size battery style, even though it's the 12 volt 9 amp hour, 130 of those go into the entire unit with the 9 bay, and then 40 go if you didn't. So you'd have to buy battery modules with 40 of those inside. So now how much you have power and charge. And if you did the entire PXR, which is the extended run, the PXR means the
9 slots at the bottom.
It's extended run time is what the XR stands for. Now you're getting a lot more additional time.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, just to hit Elvis real quick. You said 130 batteries, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if you do the math, those are battery modules that are being slid into those slots.
Correct.
So inside of each module
Is 10 of those.
is 10 of these, okay?
You are
Wired
correct.
in series.
Yep. And then what we're looking at to get a quick idea. So if you're going to use 16 kVA, all of that power, you're getting about 21 to 25 minutes. If you're going to use half, which is 8, you're getting almost 50 minutes of runtime on what it's connected to. Now, just so you can get an idea, if you use less than that, if you use only 4 kVA, one power module where you see the SYPM 4KP label,
Yeah, if you could
only
zoom in,
use that,
have them zoom in on that a little
yeah,
bit.
if you
so
zoom
you're-
in on that,
Yeah,
if
there we
you
go.
only use that and you have all those batteries inside, you're getting 1 hour and 50 minutes, almost 2 hours of run time
Yeah.
to just play it safe and that you have backed up and of power.
Right. Now zoom out again a little bit, Jesse. So Elvis is talking about the SYPM 4KP power modules. But if
power
you
module.
look, you've got a slot for another one. I'm going down
Yep.
from the top. And a slot for a third one.
How many
and a
do we
slot
got there,
for
Claude?
A fourth one. And a slot for a fifth one.
Why
Right?
5 if we only need 16 kVA
For redundancy. Okay. You can
for
use
repetition?
Yeah. Yeah. Redundancy. And what that means is backup. If one of them blows up, not literally blows up, but smokes, goes down,
Fails.
the fifth one that's not working can pick that load up.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that takes that whole unit with the PXR takes 13 of the battery modules that you were referring to that houses 10. That's why it's 10 times 13 gives you 130 batteries of 12 volt 9 amp hour. And I don't see if we have time or not, Claude, because we're coming through.
Well, hit those intelligence modules real quick.
So okay, we'll finish up on the LX today.
Okay.
We'll see if we could talk. So the intelligence module is basically your brain. So let's talk about this. The power module is increased scalable power for a UPS. The battery module is filled with batteries and offers runtime. The intelligence module, which is the MIM5 in short, SY MIM5, is the brain and decreases the space required for easy development for environments. In addition, it's an intelligent battery management, facilitates precision charging for optimum battery. It is the brain, and it requires two. And one of them is actually a redundant.
Yes.
Same concept.
Yes. And just like Elvis is saying, that is the brain. Think about the human body.
Yep.
Okay. You have a brain. Now, some of you think you have 3 or 4 brains. Okay. But
Nope.
each one of us has a brain, and that brain is telling your body parts
Yep.
what to do. So if that brain goes awry, guess what's going to happen to the UPS body parts?
It's a vegetable.
It's going to go awry. You're going to start getting error. So my point is it's just like a human body. That thing right there is telling all the other components what to do in that UPS.
You'd be brain dead.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
All displayed on the display right in the center top of that UPS.
That is your monitoring system. You get to check the logs. You get to see how much runtime, because remember, it's batteries. Batteries lose charge. So once you had maybe 35 minutes, after a few months, you'll have 30, 25. So that's why every 3 to 5 years, and we really say the 3-year mark, so you're always protected, you want to change your batteries.
Right.
You do. The power modules last a lot longer. And it's all about how long they last and the performance of them. Right. You can have them I've had them for many years in customers' units.
Yeah. Hey, it's 11. So we're going to cut it off with the single phase LX. We'll jump back on the 3-phase PX later. But we got some questions. I think we can answer a few of these questions real quick before we go. So the Banana Man says his device is 850 watts. Easy. 2200 to 2.2 kVA will work for you.
Yeah.
My guy, Wyatt guy Aldridge from Pocoluck, Arizona. If I have a single computer that I want to protect from monsoon season, what kind of UPS I want to look into? Probably can get one of those the first one we showed.
Depending how long you want to keep it going, 10, 20, 30 minutes, you get one of those smart ups.
Yeah. And when he says smart ups, you're talking about, 1500 1.5 kVA plug-and-play unit. You
can do a 3,000 and in the towers. So that's the other great point is the one I was holding up that Claude said I was holding with one arm. No, that's actually for a rack mount. So that goes this way, horizontal, and it goes into a rack. The other one's a tower. You could sit that anywhere, just like on here, and it's a lot more. So that's a quick reference for the smart ups. There's a tower, and then there's the rack mount because it's mounted on a rack. Yeah. So just so you know, you for something like that for the house, if you just want to put it on something standing, you'd get a tower. If you're doing it for a little data server, if you're doing a little server room or a little switch room, that's what you'd get the rack mount. So those are the two differences.
Okay. Well, we're going to pick this up next week. There's still a few questions. We're going to come back right at you next week, get those questions answered too. Okay. But we really, really enjoyed you. We enjoyed your participation in questions, and we're all learning together.
You guys were amazing. I loved it. Yeah.
All right.
I'm awake now, powered on.
We'll see you next week.